Everyone, it's going Centurion here. So I'm here today for my NSI Week 2 matchup. I'm going up against a good friend of mine, Steve. He'll probably deny that we're good friends in the comments section, but we are. So this is Week 2. Week 1, we lost 0-1, dropped 2 differential in a bit of a haxy match. So we're hoping to bounce back here and start the season off at least decent. As you guys can see, this is the team that he decided to bring. He brought Mega Pinsir, Tapu Koko, Kecleon, Excadrill, Durant, and Gyarados. So Tapu Koko is a big threat to my team, as it is to most teams. However, with Volt Absorb, Jolteon, as long as he's not Brave Bird, my Mega Venusaur can outwall it. So I have some checks to it. Mega Pinsir, my biggest response to that is Skarmory, as it can just out tank any hit he has for days. I can also have Infernape if he's not the quick attack variant. Kecleon, Kecleon's an interesting mon, as you guys will see. I can offensively scare it out with Infernape, and Mega Venusaur completely outwalls it. Excadrill, for the most part, I outwall with both Mega Venusaur and Skarmory, and all these mons are faster than it if it's not Choice Scarf and can scare it out. Durant, I can beat with my Skarmory as well as my Mega Venusaur. Gyarados, once again, Skarmory, Mega Venusaur, both just scared away. So Skarmory and Mega Venusaur are a big part of my team. Now, just jump into my team and the sets I brought. I brought an offensive Infernape with Flare Blitz, Mach Punch, or Flare Blitz, Thunder Punch, Mach Punch, and U-Turn. I brought a Jolteon with Zap Plate, so my Electric Stab hits a bit harder. I brought Volt Switch, HP Fire, T-Bolt, and Magnet Rise. Magnet Rise, basically, if he's not a Scarf Excadrill and I'm 1v1, I go for Magnet Rise, and then he can't EQ me anymore. And and then he's forced to go for things like Iron Head, and I could chip away with him at HP Fire. So it allows me to better 1v1 with Excadrill. I brought a Choice Scarf Zygarde for 1,000 Arrows, Outrage, Stone Edge, and Extreme Speed. So this will be able to outspeed his entire team, Scarf, Excadrill, anything, and I can hit it with 1,000 Arrows, which does pretty well against the majority of his team, as you guys can see. A bit of a flaw is that Aura Break will go first before his Electric Terrain on and Tapu Koko, so that's kind of tells him that I'm Choice Scarf. My Greninja is really standard with Hydro Pump, Water Shuriken, HP Electric, and Ice Beam. HP Electric for the Gyarados, Life Orb, and Torrent. Next up is Ravenclaw, my Rocky Helmet Skarmory. So Skarmory, as I told you guys in team matchup, can outwall about 4 mons on his team, so it's very important. It's a defensive Skarmory with max HP, Roost, Whirlwind, Counter, Brave Bird. So basically, not one of these 4 mons can 2-ko it, and Counter will send it to Oblivion. Whirlwind if I set up, Roost is there, Brave Bird in case I get taunted or something. Next up, we have Mega Venusaur, who's a huge part of this team. Synthesis, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, HP Fire. So once Mega Pinsir's gone, it goes in. It can beat Tapu Koko. It 1v1s Kecleon as long as... Oh, I 1v1 it completely. If I get a poison, that helps out. I can take on the Excadrill. Durant goes bye-bye with HP Fire. And Gyarados, I outwall that unless it has Bounce or something. Some nice deck like that. But without any further ado, I'm going to jump into the battle. So once I saw the team matchup, I knew Choice Scarf Zygarde was it was probably my mon of choice, as I could outspeed his entire team and get off a quick 1,000 arrows or something. He might lead Tapu Koko, and maybe he won't pay attention to the Aurora Break and go first. So that just happens to be the case, as I lead Fresno. My Aurora Break goes first. He leads with his Cutie, and he drops turn 1 to 1,000 arrows. So he said he just skipped the turn and didn't notice that the Aura Break went first, which is really unfortunate, which is why we got to take our times. Well, unfortunate for him, amazing for us. So right off the bat, turn 1, we're in a great position. We got rid of one of his biggest threats to my team. The Mega Venusaur now can almost go in completely once Mega Pinsir's gone. And turn 1, huge threat gone. So he decides to go into his Kecleon. Now, pretty sure here he's going to go for an Ice Beam. So what I did was I went into Mega Venusaur, as I don't really want to risk any of these mons taking much damage, as they're all kind of frail. And Mega Venusaur, it'll take roughly like 20s or high upper 20s to lower 30s from a non-investment. And if he's like a Life Orb variant, I will be taking something that Synthesis can completely get rid of. So I make just that play. I'm going to my regular Venusaur for now. He goes for Ice Beam. It does 30 damage. and he gets the freeze. So the freeze was huge, especially on turn 1, as Mega Venusaur can outwall all these mons right here. Very unfortunate, but hopefully, I mean, Mega Venusaur could take hits, so maybe we have a chance to fly out later. So I try to Mega Evolve and go for a fly out. It doesn't work as he gets his rocks up. So this turn, he decides to switch out. He goes into his Mega Pinsir. I try to fly out one more time. Doesn't work. So here I decide to switch out into Skarmory. As I mentioned earlier, it's my designated switch in. Mega Pinsir can't 2-ko me. Especially not because the Sturdy Butch is gone now, but to rocks. And I can counter and get rid of his huge threat. And we'll see what happens. So he Mega Evolves. He goes for his return. It's resisted, only does about 20%. He takes Rocky Helmet damage. And here I decide to Roost as he doubles back into Kecleon, or goes back into Kecleon. So I'm at full health, and here I decide to switch into Mega Venusaur, as if there's one mon that Mega Venusaur can soak up hits from, it's Kecleon. So I figure it's my best chance to fly out. So I go into my Mega Venusaur, and he goes for T-Bolt, which reveals he has a T-Bolt, which was nice info. And third try to fly out, doesn't happen. So he goes for Ice Beam here. He gets a crit and does 19. Yeah, as you guys can see, I would have completely outwalled this thing with Mega Venusaur. I try to Synthesis here, no work. And there goes my Mega Venusaur. So it's really unfortunate that I lost this mon due to a freeze, as it could outwall the majority of his team, but I still have a chance to come back, and as you guys will see. So I decided to go into my Tarzan, my Infernape here. So as you guys saw, I had Flare Blitz, Mach Punch, U-Turn, and Thunder Punch. So my best play is obviously to Flare Blitz here. He decides to go into his Kanye, and my Flare Blitz goes off, and that's dead. So he probably expected me to close combat here, as I'd be resisted, but I went for Flare Blitz instead. And that's a huge threat gone right away. So we're in a pretty good spot right here. And he decides to go into his Gyarados. So I see the Intimidate, and I was fearing Choice Scarf here. So I figured the only reason you would ever go in with a Gyarados against a Tarzan is if you're Choice Scarfed. It didn't make much sense otherwise. So I decided to switch out, and wow. All right, he switched out before me. So, all right, my initial thought was that he wasn't Choice Scarf if he switched, but since he switched out before me, I really should have recognized that he was Choice Scarfed. As you guys will come to see, that will come back to bite me in the butt later. But I go into my Skarmory, and he's in here with Kecleon, so I decide to switch. I go out into my Jolteon, expecting a T-Bolt. He goes for Ice Beam, predicting that, which was very nice. So here I kind of decide I want to figure out a little bit about his set. I go for HP Fire, as he goes for T-Bolt, expecting me to switch, and I get some Volt Absorb Recovery. That was a bit of a misplay on his part. I mean, I can respect the play. It's alright, though. So he probably might have expected me to go into Greninja or something. But anyways, I got some health back, and that encourages me to stay in here. Well, I go for Magnet Rise this turn, expecting him to switch into Excadrill to take advantage of me going for T-Bolt. But he goes for Ice Beam. So I'm down here about 55. He's at 82. I decide with Magnet Rise up, I'm not fearing an Excadrill, so I just go straight for a Volt Switch. I go now into my Infernape. He goes for the Ice Beam. So I'm sitting pretty good here. My best play here is to Flare Blitz, so that's what I go for. He switches out into his Gyarados, intimidates me. I went for Mach Punch, my bad. I get a bit of a crit there, not really relevant whatsoever. And I choked. So I should have noticed earlier that he switched out on and went before me, but I didn't. And his Gyarados gets a free cleanup of my Infernape, which, as you guys can see, would have been so nice to have as I didn't outspeed his Durant, but it was nice for his Excadrill and his Kecleon. So that was a huge choke on my behalf. Really just overlooked it. I thought since he switched, he wasn't Choice Scarf, but failed to see that he went out before me. So this puts us in a pretty bad spot now, as without my Infernape, we have Greninja, Jolteon, and Zygarde for offensive pressure. We can still come back, though, depending on some of his sets. Kecleon has proven to be very annoying right now without my Mega Venusaur to handle and check him. But so I drop here, and To counter this, I go into Ravenclaw, as I didn't really want to go to Jolteon, as I was already kind of getting weak. He decides to Waterfall, takes some Rocky Helmet, and I just go straight for a Roost. So I'm at full health here, and I decide to Whirlwind this turn, thinking he'd want to switch out. So he decided to switch out into Excadrill, and I thought he would go into Kecleon, and then I'd Whirlwind Mountain anything I wanted. But he decided to go into Excadrill. Then I Whirlwind him out, and he gets put into Kecleon, which is really unfortunate for me, as this is not the mon I want to go against. So I'm forced to go back here into Jolteon, as he decides to T-Bolt. I disagree with that play. I don't think that was the best play, as the Jolteon switch-in was pretty obvious. Yeah, so I'm about 68. Good spot for me, though. Here's where I kind of just need to wear this thing down a bit. Maybe he didn't bring Recover. He Ice Beams me down. I'm at 38. He's at 70. Now that he's Ice type, my Thunderbolt will be doing its full damage with Zap Plate. So he goes to 34 and reveals Recover. And this is where I realized I really needed Mega Venusaur to put this thing in check, as now I'm not doing much to him. And he's just going to whittle away at my Sparky here. Not in the best spot. It dies to Rock, so I decide I have to stay in. I go for an HP Fire here. He recovers, goes back up to full health. I don't know why I didn't T-Bolt there, to be honest. That was a bit of a misplay. So I T-Bolt here, and I believe this turn... Oh, he recovers one more time, but the next turn he finishes me off. So I go for my T-Bolt. He decides to kill me, or feint me, whatever you guys prefer. So I realize I'm kind of down in this match, and I need to start making a little bit of plays. So I decided to go into my Zygarde, as Outrage here was a roll, and he probably knew that, so he decides to switch into one of his two Steel types to resist that. So I decided instead to go for 1,000 Arrows. I knew it wouldn't kill and he could kill me, but I'd be a bit aggressive. And that completely takes this thing down. I know I'm Choice Scarf, so I didn't fear it anyways, but he reveals Leftovers. So I go for another 1,000 Arrows and put him down. Yeah, it would be Dustfall. So he goes into Visping, and not Visping, wow. He goes right into his Durant, so I decided to switch into Skarmory. Doesn't need to switch in, really. And he decides to go up for his Z Power. So Z Home Claws, I wasn't really predicting that this week. That's a bit of an overlook on my behalf, but still at +2, I should be able to take the majority of his hits. As I've done calcs where if he could get up to +1 and he wasn't doing much to me at all. So I go right into my Skarmory here. I take the Rocks damage, but for the most part, I'm looking okay. So here I had a couple of options. I could A, counter, expecting him to attack me, which probably was the better play. However, I was afraid that maybe he would go for something like Substitute, because that could be a decent bring. And if he went for Substitute, then it was basically game. I was also afraid of him going for a move like... what was I afraid of? I don't recall right now, but anyways. So my play that I decided to do was Roost here, as if I could get up to full health and he did decide to set up, then I had a Sturdy and I could guarantee knock this thing out. And I didn't believe any attack was killing me. However, he whips out a Thunder Fang, which was amazing. That was some really cool prep on his behalf, as Thunder Fang brings me all the way down to 19. I hit Roost. I get back up to 69. So T-Fang was a damage roll here, but as you guys are going to see, it goes in his favor. And he drops me. He takes another round of Rocky Helmet damage here. So I should have countered there, playing a little too safe there with the Roost, and instead he gets a +2 and accuracy drop, or an accuracy increase to go with his Hustle. So I go into Greninja, and I can't kill this thing with my Hydro Pump. However, what this does was it probably makes him fear an HP Fire. So he decides to switch, but I go for Hydro Pump, as I have HP Electric for Gyarados. I missed my Hydro Pump, not the most relevant thing, a little unfortunate. He crits me here with his Waterfall, and I go for HP Electric and kill this thing. So now it's Greninja and Zygarde versus Durant and Kecleon. So it's not looking too good for me. But we'll see if I can bounce back a little bit. So he goes into his Kecleon here. Now, what I know was, well, yeah, I'd already revealed that I froze him, but I knew that if I could get into range where I could get my Torrent Hydro Pump, I would be doing about 80% of his Kecleon. So I decided to go to Ice Beam here to make him think that just that he could go ahead and just kill me instead of having to recover stall me, which he also told me that he would have done. But instead, I get a freeze on when he would have recovered, he said. So that's really unfortunate for him. Kind of makes up for the Mega Venusaur getting frozen, as Mega Venusaur, as I mentioned earlier, would have completely outwalled his team. But he gets frozen. I take my Life Orb recoil. And here I decide to switch into Zygarde. So I go into Zygarde as I can now put on 1,000 arrows pressure against him. And he stays frozen like I did. I go for my 1,000 arrows. He drops down to 3%, stays frozen, and I go for 1,000 arrows again. Now I outspeed his entire team. So at this point, I've won the game. The only question is if it'll be 1-0 or 2-0 differential. His Durant is Ironhead is a roll to kill me. And as you guys can see right here, he goes into Durant because I have some HP investment. I go for 1,000 arrows. It crits. The crit wasn't all that important, as I would have won either way at this point, 1-0 or a 2-0, depending on what roll he got. But yeah. So this match, I'm definitely not pleased with this victory. I choked twice majorly. Could have been a different game had I had Mega Venusaur around. It most certainly would have, as it could outwall his entire team. Ooh, the freeze for freeze, I guess, but really unfortunate match. Not proud of this victory, but it's a victory nonetheless. Really sorry to my man Steve for the hacks. There was hacks on both sides, though. We talked it over. Actually, the whole league did. This was a kind of a salty match. Majority of the people agreed that had Mega Venusaur been on the field, not frozen, I would have won with some really high differential, as his team couldn't really break that. However, this was our week 2 match, and really sorry about the hacks. Not proud that this is the first match I uploaded, but nonetheless, here it is. All right, guys. So I'll probably be seeing you guys. Actually, my ITL match won't be up till next week. So tomorrow I'll probably do an update video real quick on like what my upload schedule will be and what leagues I'll be uploading. So till later, guys. Catch you guys next time. See ya.